just received the handbrake lowering kit from Audrio. The details will be in the post below, and basically what I'm hoping this will do is allow me to take my handbrake with the Remo Audrio seat swivels that I have here, and effectively fold that flat against the floor to allow me to spin the seat around without having to interfere. And you can see it's sort of scratched a bit on here where it's previously caught it. Currently I have to raise the seat right up to its maximum height. I have to take the handbrake off. Luckily I've got an automatic, so I can put it into park, drop the handbrake, swivel the seat round, and then I have to either swivel the seat round 180 degrees, so that means that I can reapply the handbrake, or I have to leave the handbrake off effectively if I want the seat swiveled round to sort of 90 degrees or something in between. So let's see how this goes. There aren't any instructions in the box. I've already had a quick look in the box, but it comes nicely packed and looks like a very substantial piece of kit. Out of here, it's odd with one hand, but move it out the way. So basically you get this sort of hinge attachment. Hopefully it looks like it's got all the bolts. First of all, I'll take the cover off the handbrake. It's a fairly simple case of releasing the small plastic catch underneath and pushing the whole thing forward. Taking the base cover off, and let's see how we get on. Okay, basically you can see just under here there's a small plastic catch. The loose end needs to be levered down a bit, and then whilst that held down you have to slide the whole outer cover forwards, and it should come off. So I'll have to put the camera down to do that. Okay, I've released the catch and slid the cover forward a little bit. Found it easier to do this with the handbrake off, so let's give this a bit of a wiggle. Hopefully that'll come off. There you go. So that basically reveals the handbrake, and then of course you've got the cover here, which I think is just a case of lifting up from the back. We put the handbrake back on from the front, and then this whole piece just slides forward, and that's the plastics off. So you can see there you've got access now to the handbrake mechanism. Okay, as you can see here, basically I've already tried the mod of actually lowering my handbrake, and as you can see here, these are the original holes. I drilled some a bit further up and some a bit further up still. This was about the maximum I could go, and dropping the handbrake to give me the most amount of clearance between the handbrake and the bottom of the seat. But even with these holes drilled in here, with the Audrio seat swivel, you still need to do this thing of raising the seat up to its maximum before you start, and even then it only just about makes it round. So I'm hoping this bracket will actually make things a lot simpler. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the handbrake off the existing bracket. So that's just a case of removing these two bolts, nuts rather, from either side, and that should give you enough clearance to actually lift the handbrake up a bit and move it out of the way. So let's do that. Okay, now the nuts have been taken off, the handbrake's now loose, and the handbrake is also in the off position. It just makes that easier because there's less tension on the cable. So now you should just be able to move the handbrake forward. Okay, so I've now slid the new bracket into place. These are the existing fixing points down the bottom on the original bracket. You can see that's still solid. These are the new fixing bolts that take the handbrake assembly, and I'm going to fit mine back in the original lower fixing positions. These two other positions above are the ones that I drilled out to try and do the original mod to lower the handbrake. which does work by the way, but just didn't take it down quite enough for my particular seat swivels. And these two bits at the back here, I was wondering what they were, but I think they're the bits that the plastic moulding will clip onto. On the back of here you can see, maybe you can't see very well, let me move this out of the way. You can see there are these on the original mount, these pieces sticking out down here. There you go, see them a bit better here. So I think these pieces here, once they're turned around and bolted up, will be the equivalent of that, and then be able to slide the plastic cover back on, but I'm not quite sure about that yet, so we'll have to see how that goes. Okay, so that's the new bracket fixed to the old mounting point on the seat base now. Just replaced the nuts, the existing two nuts that was holding the handbrake on, onto the existing fixed bolts that stick out through from the seat base. So now all I need to do is move the handbrake back up onto these new bolts on the actual new bracket and fix that in place, making sure that these two outrigger type bolts are actually facing outwards towards the back and the front, so hopefully the cover will fit back over those. So let's see how that goes. Okay, that was a fairly easy process. So as you can see now, the handbrake is back in position on the new bracket. That's what it looks like from behind. We have the new bolts and nuts actually holding the handbrake on to the bracket, the new bracket. These are the original fixings holding the bracket to the seat base, and as you can see here, we've got the two small threaded bolts sticking out front and back, and I think that's going to hold the casing back on in a minute, and I'll try that. But as you can see, it sits a bit higher up than the original handbrake would, because obviously it's probably about 50mm higher, which obviously makes it easier to get hold of and actually lift up. But the key point is now you're able to just take the handbrake as it currently is, and with a bit of effort, there's quite a good resistance. As you can see down here, there's a couple of nylon washers in between the two moving parts. So as you want to lay the handbrake down, you can actually, well, let's actually put the handbrake on first of all. So if I lift it up and put the handbrake on, so that's the handbrake on, you can now just push it down with a bit of force and it will lay flat on the floor. So very easy to do. Doesn't seem to put too much tension on either the cable, so you do need to make sure that there's enough slack on your cable here that it's not going to get jammed or anything. And obviously it puts a bit of a bend on there, but it's not too tight a radius, so I'm assuming that will be okay over time. And to put it back into position, you just push it back up and it's quite squarely in position. So I'm going to try and put the plastics on now, just to see whether it will operate with the plastics on, or whether there's any further modification required to the plastics. Okay, that's the plastics replaced. As you might notice, because I'd actually done the previous lowering mod, as part of that mod I had to cut out a section of the existing plastic cover at the top here. The bottom one isn't modified, but the top one is. So I may need to order a new one of these now, because obviously there's a bit showing at the front here, and would look better if it was the original shape. But as you can see, all the plastics fit back on. Obviously there is now, you know, 50mm gap at the bottom here, which is noticeable. I'm not sure whether it would be possible to make a sort of a like a leather piece to go in around the bottom there, which is flexible enough to stay in place while you open it and close it. But it's nice and solid once it's up, back in the upright position. It doesn't move easily from side to side, but when you do want to actually move it, you just have to put a bit of pressure on there, and it will just slot right over and just lay flat on the floor in the on position as well. So and the main cover actually moves with it, which I was quite surprised about. I thought that would be something I had to sort out. So apart from, like I say, the small gap underneath, could do with some sort of filler piece to actually go in around the bottom here just to extend it a bit longer. But it seems to work quite well even with the existing plastics on, and you can see where I've cut that out. That's, you wouldn't normally see that piece because this would come further down here. It's probably about a couple of centimeters, I think. I've cut off the thickness of that piece there. So and then just slot it back up into position. So all in all, very easy mod. It basically would take you, if you weren't trying to sort of film it as you go like I've been doing one-handed, I think it would only take you 10 minutes to take the old handbrake off. So you take the plastics off, take the old handbrake off, and replace the bracket. It is a plug and play sort of solution. There's no drilling or cutting or anything required. I think all the existing plastics should go back on, and like I say, you just get left with this gap at the bottom here, which I'm sure I can find a way out to sort that out somehow with some sort of filler piece, maybe a piece of foam or something around the bottom there. So all in all, I'm very happy, and hopefully that'll make at least turning the seats around a lot easier, and I can leave the handbrake on with the seats actually spun round.